Another episode of Kadampa Stories, where I get a chance to talk to members of the Kadampa Meditation Centre Australia community and find out a little bit about their spiritual journey, how they got interested in meditation, what their favorite meditations are, and any advice they might have for other people starting on their own journeys. So today I'm joined by Beth, who is a wonderful member of our community, sort of like a spiritual mother for our community. There was some feedback someone shared that listening to her teach is like having a warm blanket wrapped around. And I've
Oh,
heard some of Beth's teachings, and absolutely, it just feels so kind of loving and kind. And so it's a real pleasure to have a chance to get to know you a little bit better and find out more about your story. So
thank you.
welcome, Beth.
Thank you.
So
I'm
let me
very
know, like, how
honoured.
did you start? How you? I know you had, I know you've got quite a big, illustrious career that's quite recognized and so forth. I know you've got that behind you. At what point did you get interested in meditation and Kadampa Buddhism in particular?
Well, it would have to be about 15 years ago.
Hmm.
And the hairdresser I used to visit was a most unusual hairdresser. We had deep philosophical conversations. And she said, Beth, someone's left a little leaflet about a meditation class starting in Doncaster. How about we both go? So I said, love to. Well, I tootled up the next week, a week too early, and there was no one there. I thought, whoops. But anyway, we went back the next week, and Jima had just become ordained, and it was her first class, and it was
Oh,
quite a busy class. And strangely enough, the book that she was teaching from, which I have to show you, was Mahamudra Tantra. And uh, at the end of the class, I was just so taken by the format and the welcome and how beautiful the meditations were conducted. At the end of the class, I said, can I please buy that book? And she said, you sure you want to buy that book? It's a very deep book. I said, I'm attracted to it. She said, I'll bring a copy for you next week.
mhm.
So I continued going regularly to the Doncaster classes, and they grew and they grew. And eventually I encouraged Cole, my partner, to come along. And after a few months, we decided we'd go to one of the day courses. And I'll never forget driving up the mountain thinking, I wonder what they're like. Are they going to be hippie, holy, weird? All of those things that just unexpected. And the thing that struck us both was how normal everyone was. It was
Mm.
like, as we were coming home, we both said, we've met people just like us.
Yeah.
But the warmth of the community, and it wasn't, how can I say it, too Buddhisty. I mean, I've always
Hmm.
had a deep spiritual search, and I've done lots of meditation and yoga, but never felt something that was so authentic or I could question. And for me, being able to ask any question and have answers and go away and think about it was just life changing for me. I thought, I've found what I've been looking for. So that's 15 years ago. So that's and that's why publicity for me, every hairdresser gets my leaflets.
That's fantastic. And that's such an important thing to remember because for so many of us, it was that someone went out and just hit the streets, went into the
Yep.
shops, put out a little flyer, which is basically an invitation. Like, if you're interested in meditation, come along, find out, have a go.
And
Yeah.
and the other thing is it's non-threatening, and that was the beauty of all the classes. It was open, caring, but you didn't feel like, oh gosh, I've got to sign up. It was like, if you'd like to come back next week. And then what happened was a lovely community develops between the participants. So you look forward to seeing and having a
Hmm.
chat. So 15 years ago, and the rest is history. I've done so many wonderful things with this centre. I have travelled. People often say to me, where are you off to this year? Another Buddhist festival. I said, yeah, that's my holidays. Why would I want to go anywhere else? Um, from teaching to meeting extraordinary, deep spiritual teachers who've given me such insights to apply. I mean, I've had a very interesting teaching career working with difficult people. And so much of my teachings from Geshe impacted on how I dealt with my working life. It was just beautiful.
Hmm. Yeah. And that, that aspect is so lovely. The fact that there is this like festivals where we get to travel all around the world and
Yeah,
we meet people from every different walk of life that are like, Venerable Geshe calls them our meaningful holidays. It's a holiday where we have like all those enjoyments of good company, good conversation, good food, good environments, all of that. And yet what's really going on is we're getting like deeply nourished on a spiritual level. And we come back with more than we left with, like we
that's the
come back
beauty
so
of it.
enriched. Yeah.
That's the add-on. It's not like the holiday's over, it's just beginning, because it starts you on another journey and another beautiful path to travel on. So yeah, I'm just so grateful to have picked up that little flyer all those years ago.
Hmm. And along the way, was there a meditation that just really kind of grabbed your heart and you just felt that's I love this. I want to think this way all the time.
For me, I think karma. Karma
Mm,
really um it really sets the tone for um every day. And now that I can say it, a senior citizen, and I'm probably over the best part of my life, the impact of making sure every action is important.
mm,
I find myself thinking deeply now whenever I'm about to think or do something. It's like it's become a natural sort of trade that, oh, am I really going to think like this, or am I really going to say that? And I think it's through the study and meditation on karma and realizing actions and effects are just so important and also so easy. It is, it's not, when people hear the word karma, sometimes they'll cringe. And I'll say, no, it's not punishment. It just gives you
mm.
this wonderful opportunity to change track. You have control of your mind. You don't have
Yeah,
to um, be stuck in that rut of how you've behaved and knowing the impact. So yeah, karma's my go-to. I love teaching
fantastic.
it. I love reading about it. And I'm wondering if in that early, I can't remember my first meditation,
Mhm,
but I suspect there was a seed of karma that was
mhm.
planted then.
Yeah, and what I love about that is like what you say, that the self-awareness where we take responsibility, like we
Yeah,
really
yeah,
own our choices and own our actions and realize we are the architect of
yeah,
our experiences, and it which initially can be confronting because we can, there's some sort of comfort or solace people might think of, this has happened to me and I'm a victim, but in karma it gives us that strength to break out of that mold and like, no, these are my choices.
yeah,
I'm going to make wise choices. I'm going to
yeah.
create a life that's meaningful and worthwhile and that I want. And yeah, it's such a powerful way of being.
Isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah. And I like what you said before about, coming to the center. And then you're saying it's not too Buddhist. It's like there's no airs and graces. There's no
yeah,
sort of pretense. There's no that sort of holy, we are so kind of pure. It's just down to earth, practical. And I don't think anything is imposed. Like the teachings are always, this is something that's worked for us. We believe in it, have a go. It's something quite nice, that sort of sharing approach. Yeah.
and it's very interesting after you've come away from a teaching and you're encouraged. What I love, to me, it's an applied science. I need to I need to test this. And I've said to people, and when I've taught, I promise you, you'll never be let down. And
Mm.
you know, it's always proved correct. If I apply the teaching the way it is taught, and follow it, it always works. And it's like sometimes you think, oh my gosh, it's worked again. Because there's a part of you that through life we try things and, they don't always work the way we'd like them to.
Hmm.
But I found with Kadampa teachings, they are so authentic and so reliable and so easy to follow. That's the other thing I loved. It's not a deep theological understanding of dogma that you think, oh my goodness, I can't do this. If for me, it's doable. It's the most doable, beautiful spiritual
Yeah.
practice I've ever looked at.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that's one of the things I just loved when I came across Venerable Geshe's books, in that they're just practical guides. They're how
Yeah,
to. Like even they started using the title "How to." Like there are so many beautiful spiritual books. So talking people sharing biographies of their
yeah,
wonderful experience, and then they're inspiring. But something that's just so like this is how to do it. Start here, do this, do that, and then check, see what happens,
yeah.
see if you get these results. And it's just it's almost like a cookery book for the path of
It is.
enlightenment.
It
This is the
is.
recipe,
It
follow the
is.
steps, and you get this amazing result. Yeah.
I adore how to transform your life. And
Mm.
quite often when I'm teaching, I'll say, this is your bedside companion. And if you've got a problem, I promise you, pick it up, open a page, and you'll think, oh my gosh, that's what I need to do. And it's just, yeah, it's my go-to. It's just such a beautiful, easy book with the solutions that, as I say, are doable. Yeah, of
Was
all, I
there
mean,
a
there's so many
moment
books.
Was there a moment where you felt like you sort of crossed the threshold where you're interested and you're practicing or using the meditation daily life, but then there's a moment where you think, oh, I actually am like a Buddhist. I am actually a
Oh,
Kadampa.
the very first FP class, it was like, oh my goodness, why didn't I join this earlier?
Hmm.
Why did I wait this long? That was a really important moment. That was, and I could not imagine not being on a study program. And there've been
Yeah.
highs and lows. There've been times I've thought, oh, I don't get this. And I can remember having a conversation with Cole, whereas, and from time to time we get the dark spaces where a lot of things are happening. And I said,
Hmm.
oh, I just don't have time to study and it's not going in. He said, you've always got a choice. You can leave. I said, don't even consider saying that to me. What do you mean? And all of a sudden, it made me realize just how important a study program is. And to take your foot off the accelerator, there are no just love it and enjoy it. And once you let that joy in, I mean, my favorite book is Joyful Path. And I
Hmm.
keep saying to people, remind yourself it is a joyful path. And if it
Yes.
gets too if you're finding you're taking it's too hard or too difficult, just step back, just go down a couple of steps and go back to the beginning, but keep it joyful. And when you find the joy again, you just want to surge forward.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic advice because it is easy to take it. I don't know if it's too seriously is the right word because it is
Yeah,
incredibly serious. Like it's the most
yeah,
important. It's like our spiritual life and trying to protect and help others. But there's that sort of slightly tight, somber mind
yeah,
that's I guess it's making it harder than it needs to be. And there's a lightness, and even like exactly like Joyful Path is a book that changed my life. Like I
yeah,
owe so much to that book. And I just love the fact that Geshe chose to call it Joyful Path to Good
yes,
Fortune because it's just to really stamp
yeah,
on it
yeah,
just so you know, it's like a navigational tool. Are we on the right track? Is it a joyful
yeah,
path? If not, then I'm getting something wrong.
yeah.
You know. And
And
obviously,
you
there's
know
that
what?
lovely bit in
You know,
How to Transform Your Life, where Geshe says if any meditation practice isn't having good effect on our mind or whatever, then realize that that's not how it's supposed to be.
yeah,
Take a step back and
yeah,
then ask questions, check, and then come
yeah,
back to it later.
yeah.
Yeah,
And knowing that you can do that, and knowing there are sangha or people into your center that you can share saying, I'm struggling and it's okay. It's okay.
yeah,
You don't have to be perfect. You just try
yeah.
and enjoy it. But it's interesting when you think, oh, yeah, it's too hard. I'll give up. It's like, no, what would I do
Mm,
without it? And it's like,
yeah,
come on. It is just joyful effort.
yeah. And obviously that's the thing as well, isn't it? Like when life does get hard, this is the thing that's actually going to really make the
Yeah.
difference. And
Yeah.
yet sometimes we think, oh, I've got to fix everything. It's like as if we could fix the whole world
Yeah.
and then we can get back to working on our mind. Whereas actually get our mind right and then the world, even if it doesn't fixed in the sort of obvious sense, there's a whole different experience of what's going on.
I can remember having a teaching, and we were talking about how often, exactly what you said, if people have a lot going on in their lives, they'll want to almost run backwards from their Dharma practice. And this teacher said, just drop everything and run towards Dharma. Just go. And, little things like, now I say yes before I say no to anything at the center. And knowing that once you say yes, then you can think, oh, golly, maybe I shouldn't have, maybe I should have. But there's actually a freedom in being connected with a center you have faith and trust in. And now if someone says, can you do this? Like, yes, I can. Then I'll think, oh, actually, I better put a couple of parameters in there. But there's something powerful about going towards your Dharma and trusting and knowing you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and then going back to the study programs, like when I first was involved in the study programs on foundation program and then later teacher training program at Bodhisattva Center, there was times where I'd feel like quite a lot of guilt because I was the education program coordinator. I felt very busy. I mean, I was rushing around. I always felt like I wasn't doing it justice. I wasn't doing enough. But what I noticed over time was that just turning up with whatever level of preparation and just being glad to be there and trying to hear it and then trying to remember it and practice it made the most enormous difference. So now whenever there's a student that says, I'm really struggling to learn the outlines or I'm really struggling to do this bit, I'm like, just come, just whatever
Yes,
you can do,
yes,
and just
yeah.
come, because the difference it makes is enormous. And that becomes really clear over the time. Yeah.
You wish you could have that conversation with every student to say, it's okay. It will
Mm.
work out.
Yeah.
Just, and reach out to your Sangha. Don't be afraid to say, I'm not getting it, or I'm not, and you'll be reassured. I mean, as a teacher, I love doing that, saying, just come. Just come and enjoy
Yeah.
and try. No one's going to judge you, but
Yeah.
don't run away. Don't ever run
Yeah. Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
It's too precious.
And there's a lovely bit. I'm not even sure if it's still in the heart wisdom. I think so. It was certainly in the old edition, where Geshe would say, "What we need in our hearts is wisdom, not doubts." And he's just empowering everyone. Like if we have a challenge with something, raise it up.
Yeah,
There's no shame.
yeah,
They don't
yes,
need to hide our doubts. Like
yeah,
open it up, talk to people, check. And obviously the whole nature of Buddha's teachings, you challenge the teachings. Like don't just accept it because people call me Buddha, as it were.
yeah,
Like Buddha would say, test it as if it was gold. And that's such great advice, because if we do, like you're saying, if we do actually practice it and test it practically, not just
yeah,
intellectually,
intellectually.
it proves itself every time, every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've never been let down, and I've recently had to deal with a few issues, family issues, and I thought, okay, time to practice again. And at the end of the week, I remember having this big smile thinking, it worked again. It worked
Yeah.
again. And I share that as much with people as I can to, people often, I recently met up with some friends I was on a community program with 40 years ago. And while I was waiting for people to arrive, a couple of the women said to me, why do you always look so happy and energized? And I said, it's because what I do. Oh, you're still doing all that volunteer work with that Buddha center. I said, yep. And someone said, but you're always so busy and happy. I said, yep. And you too could be that.
Yeah.
And it was quite sad listening to the others talking about their lives, how they didn't have meaning or they were bored. And I thought, oh, I've got the solution.
And
But yeah, and
honestly,
it's,
that's it's something I come across so often, people that don't have a sense of purpose. And it's such a joy to have such a strong sense of purpose, both like personally in terms of my own spiritual journey and in terms of benefiting others. Geshe has given so much
yeah.
for us to do and to share and practice.
Oh, someone said, you're the busiest retired couple I've ever met. And I said, and we would not have it any other way,
Yeah.
thank you.
And so recently, because we haven't really had a proper catch up about your time in Adelaide, because recently Adelaide was between
Yes, of
resident
course.
teachers, and you very kindly stepped in to basically be like obviously the teacher, but also like the spiritual mother, because I think it was a difficult time for the centre going between
Yeah,
one teacher and they're a
yeah.
little uncertain what was happening, and I suggested you because I thought you were absolutely perfect for the role, but for them, but also I was thinking for you, what a wonderful thing to
You
get
know,
to
you,
do.
you touched on something before because I said yes, and it was instinctive, the yes, because I think, Geschler was right behind me saying, pushing me, come on, you can do this. And the thing that struck me, Rabton, there was not one day that I thought, I can't do this. There wasn't one morning, I'd never taught workshops, I'd never run a retreat. And I can remember absolutely couldn't wait to get up in the morning and think, I've got to prepare this and I've got to do that. But there wasn't one moment that I felt I couldn't do it. Now, I know it's because my guru was here with me. I mean, it was just so present, but it was the best 3 months I could ever wished for. It'll stay with me all my life because it was great for my own spiritual development, great for my faith because it was like, oh my gosh, they're trusting me to help, guide, encourage this wonderful group of people. But I never felt alone. I never
Mm.
once thought, oh, it's me. It's like, no, I'm just a bit of the conduit here. And it was just wonderful. There wasn't a moment that I woke up thinking, what am I doing here? It was
Mhm.
like, when the time came when Gen Larchog rang me, I said, really, have I got to go? But there'll be other adventures. But no, it was very,
Absolutely.
very special, very special.
Yeah. And again, like for me personally, like what we just said really resonates where Venerable Geshe believing in me and seeing something in me that maybe I couldn't see
Yeah,
or I wasn't confident was there,
yeah.
but him seeing it so clearly and basically creating the condition to draw it out feels like just like to be believed in at that level
Oh,
feels so incredibly healing and empowering. It's
you
amazing.
know, I would wake up quite often, and I'm not a great sleeper at the best of times, but I would wake up at 3 in the morning, and I kind of thought, Geshe and I'd have this conversation about my workshop. And I'd be, toing and froing, what about this? What about that? By the time I'd gone back to sleep and got up the next morning, it was like, oh my gosh, I've rewritten the
Hmm.
whole workshop. But it was just so beautiful. It was just I actually felt this beautiful divine intervention. It was just very special.
Yeah.
It was very lovely. I never minded waking up at 3 thinking, what are we going to discuss now?
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. Is there is there anything that you would, I mean, you said so many wonderful things, but is there anything in particular that you would want to say to someone who is considering coming to a class that's new, that's maybe hesitant, unsure, or, is this for me? Is this my kind of thing?
Well, it's funny you say that. I taught a class last Monday, and a new lady came who'd never been to anything, and she said, I'm terribly, terribly nervous. I'm really, but I thought this might help me. And I said, you can absolutely rest assured that you will be welcomed. There is nothing to be afraid of. And at the end of it, I said, how did it feel? She said, oh, I can't wait to come back next
Mm.
week. And I think the most important thing as a teacher or as a member is welcoming everybody with this beautiful open heart and reassuring them there are there's nothing to stop them asking questions. It's okay if they even fall asleep in the class. Everything's okay.
Yeah.
It's when people are nervous, and I think a lot of people come because they've tried other therapies, other means of looking at their anxiety. So to meet a community that's open and caring and has no expectations and doesn't really care who you are, what you do. Just enjoy the teachings, enjoy the meditations. It's very special from my side to be part of that journey of encouraging someone, and also tell them my story. Look, I started just like you,
Hmm.
didn't know what it would be like, and here I am, teaching.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that kind of comes, like, really encapsulates one of the principal messages that gets had, which is everybody welcome. Everybody's
Absolutely.
welcome. There's no
Yeah,
judgment. There's no discrimination.
yeah.
Everybody's welcome, and everybody's accepted. Everybody, yeah, it's beautiful. It's so
Isn't it?
beautiful.
Isn't it?
Yeah, cool. Well, that was lovely. So on that note, fantastic. Everybody welcome, and thank you so much. It's been really lovely
Well,
to have the
that
chat.
almost sounded, it was just this lovely conversation getting wrapped, and I feel it's lovely.